Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football. As I'm a little late breaking down all the goals scored in the UEFA Champions League Final between Paris Saint-Germain and Inter. Now, I know I'm a little bit late of doing videos. I'm catching up with my Premier League stuff this week, so stay tuned. Just been a little bit too busy of late to actually keep up to on date, but I'm going to be doing a little bit better as we move forward for the Club World Cup and some of the internationals coming up, so we can make fun of those teams. But there's a lot going on in this Inter Paris Saint-Germain final. And a lot of it I come down to is that Inter aren't that good, but they're good. What does that mean? You can't say they're not that good and they're in the Champions League final. Yeah, I can. They beat Barcelona, who everyone thought was going to make the final. Not me. Well, actually, I did. I think it was going to be Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona. But when the game was being played between Inter and Barca, you could see Inter were going to score. They're always going to score when they had the ball. Not against this Paris Saint-Germain side. When Paris Saint-Germain beat Liverpool, go back and check out those videos. I said Paris Saint-Germain would win the UEFA, the Champions League back then, just because of the way that the team is set up, the balance of the team, and how everybody plays and interacts with each other. You can just see it, right? And there's a difference of being able to see it and call it back then than there is saying it in the final. And sometimes you just play in a final and the other team is better than you, and that's what happens here. Inter Milan had no answers, absolutely no way of trying to set up to beat this Paris Saint-Germain team. They just didn't. And there's like massive psychological things that go on in finals. So unless you've played in finals, like I have, or you've coached in finals like I have, there's a completely different mindset. So think of it in a couple of different ways. Some people are just happy to be there. Yeah, we've made the final. They've overachieved. If you asked Inter Milan at the start of the season, are they going to be in the Champions League final? Deep down, the players will probably go, nah, we're not going to be there. So there's this set of belief when they're beating Barcelona, can they push on again? Okay, that's the hard part. Their final was beating Barcelona. That's what took all their energy, all their, they're done. Poof, they're just happy to be in the final. Now they're thinking, yeah, but not really that we're going to do it or we're not going to do it. They're not necessarily prepared for the final as much as they were prepared for the Barcelona game, okay? Because that's how football goes sometimes. You go, yeah, but of course they prepared for the final, Cash. Yeah, but not mentally. It's very, very difficult, right? To bring yourself up after a massive, massive high and go again. Okay, that's where experience comes in. That's where, next year, I expect Inter to be right back in the Champions League doing exactly what they're doing, but with now more experience and more confidence. What is that confidence I'm talking about here, about being the underdog and overachieving, right? So if you take certain teams, I think the classic example is Liverpool at Anfield in the Champions League. It doesn't matter what incarnation of the Liverpool team is. Their heritage is they're going to beat you at Anfield. If it needs to be 4-0 against Barcelona or whatever it needs to be, they're going to do it. Not necessarily the same players, but it's ingrained in the club. They know from the bottom down to the top that, we're going to do it. We're going to win because that's what we do. It used to be there in Manchester United. Manchester United used to go, 4 minutes to go. We're going to win the Premier League. Yeah, we'll win. We'll do it. And you can see and it is kind of arrogance. People don't like using that word, but it's okay to be arrogant because you're good. Inter didn't have any of that. And you can see it from this clip here as we start to play this and move this forward. Watch this. Watch how... Look, there's a run going here and not one single player from Inter Milan is pressuring the ball, doing anything really, just kind of stood walking. They're almost like a rabbit in, deer in headlights, just in awe of what's going on, in awe of the occasion, and just really forgot to show up. Look how much time he's got on the ball. Look. The run goes on. He's I should have gone with him. Look, put Sander. I should. They don't score from this, but you can just see how lackadaisical the whole of Inter Milan is. Look how much time he's got on the ball here. Now, of course, it's the halfway line, and Inter don't press up that high. They generally drop back. Great, fine, but they're not dropping back either. Look how high they are up here. So they're completely just out of sorts for this final, and that happens. Because you're playing in the the Champions League European Championship. Oh my goodness, you're playing in the Champions League final. So you know what, your mind it can just get overrun by the occasion. We're just moving on ever so slightly, keeping it on the same clip. Little mate's got the ball, dribbled over here, passed to here. There's the ball. No one has subsequently moved anywhere from Inter Milan. No one's dropped off. No one's pressured the ball. No one's sort of done anything. They just stood still. That just absolutely stood still. And this is a classic. This basically gives you the insight of what's going on. You're 10 minutes into the game. And you'll hear all of these coaching tropes that people put out there and all this nonsense like, just want to stay in the final. If you just want to stay in the final, you're going to lose the final. It's a final. You have to attack. You have to be on the front foot and you have to go after them because it's a final. You can't sit there and wait and try to think that, oh, you're going to do this and in the last 30 minutes of the game, you're going to win the game. You can't play like that in a final because the other team will start getting more and more momentum as the game goes on. It's not a league game. It's a final. There's a very, very different psychological effect of a final than a league game. And this is what lots of people don't understand, coaches especially, because they're morons generally, and players. When you're in a final and you know that this is it, the dread starts kicking in that you're losing. So the more momentum that they have, especially in the first half, dread kicks in. It does. And that fear and that fear of failure. And oh my God, we've already lost. And people think that they've failed quicker than they've won. All right. So if you go, oh, I'm not going to do that. How many peak times in your life, if you heard someone say, oh, well, that's hard, I'm not going to do that. Or how many times you heard, yeah, I'm going to achieve that. Yeah, I'm going to go and do that. More often than not, they doubt themselves and they're in the mindset of fear. And that's what happens when you're not pressuring the ball. There's no real leaders on the field to stand strong and go, right, let's get and do this, because they're all cowering under the weight of the pressure of trying to win this final. And what happens, that translates into the first goal right here. We can see the similar sort of thing happening where PSG are sat back here with the ball, loads of time on it, no pressure on the ball because that's not exactly how Inter play. They don't really like pressuring up here, but they're not really in a fantastic defensive shape. They're kind of higgledy-piggledy back here, completely and utterly free out here on the wing, which is okay as long as, remember, when the ball travels, that's time, especially if the ball is in the air. That means that's time for the right back or the right centre back in this case to get out and close that player down and make sure he doesn't have time and space on the ball. Watch when this ball's played here. We're going to watch it. Bump. No one's going out and pressuring him at all. What does that give him? Confidence, time on the ball. He can do whatever he wants. Now this gets really interesting. Oh my God, look, there's a player telling somebody else what to do, where the ball's going to go. So we know in the next 5 seconds, someone is going to score a goal. It's like I should be a football coach or do a YouTube analysis and say this every week. Like it happens all the time. Yeah. I say it so often, and people that watch my videos probably bored of me trying to explain this concept of how the brain functions and that your 80% and your 20% and what you're focusing on and all of that. I need to probably just do a full video on it. The problem is though, it's a 2 to 5 hour discussion, so you actually understand the mental breakdown and how it works and what's really your focus is really doing and why that's so important. And that is coaching. That means someone has coached him to do that in a training session, because players naturally go down the park, go play. No footballers telling people to go mark and cover him. They just do it. Now, the other point about it is peers. So everyone this is why it's like such a long discussion and I miss so many points out about this when I'm talking about it. So if you're on a football field and you've got all your peers with you, when you tell someone if you've played anything, or even if you're stacking shelves at the supermarket, right, and you and your mate are there and you tell your mate to go and do something, well, he's going to look at you and go, well, mate, you're the same as me. I don't listen to you. I listen to my manager. Shut up. And that's exactly what players do. I'm telling you right now, when another player points out to go another player to do something, or anyone does in life, you immediately rebel against it. Say, I'm not doing that. He told no. Is it the right thing to do? Yeah. Does it mean you might not get your hand cut off? Yeah, but you're still going to get your hand cut off because you'd rather do that than listen to what the other person had to say. It's just human nature. We're all rebellious against everything and don't want to listen to people. We think we're right, especially professional footballers. So they never cover anyway. Anytime anyone's ever done this, they've never covered. They've never done the right thing, but they still do it. The reason he's managed to split these two defenders after he's run by, I'm not doing my job, I'm telling somebody else to do it, is because his body shape, look at where he's actually defending. You can't see this player. You can't see this player. He sure as hell can't see the ball, but he can see the corner flag. That's what he's defending. That's why he's able to run past him. As soon as he goes behind him here, well, he can't track the ball. He can't do anything. If he's facing the right way here, he's never going to try to run in front of the player here. He would have carried on down the line and it would have been better. His body shape is another reason why they get to score a goal right here. I do like this though. As it interchanges in, he doesn't give the ball back to him. Really, really good play here. Just keeps it. So I used to do this. If you'd seen my warm-ups, my coaching videos on those, when I do this third man running drill, there's a reason I do that. And you would have heard Arsene Wenger talking about passing patterns and ingraining passing patterns. What it really means is you run enough things that you accidentally do them in the game. So it's not like, okay, we're doing passing pattern A and then we're doing passing pattern B. No. What happens is the movement happens just because it's the way that we train. So we constantly do similar sort of things in many different structures of passing patterns. And what happens is the rotation happens in a game. So watch, he doesn't get the ball. So then what happens is as the ball goes, look, he's making a run back inside. So if you take this as a third man running, he's done the overlap, he's got the ball, and now the next guy's going to do the overlap instead. Okay, and remember, this is the problem with low-level thinking. We don't mean overlapping a player. We could also mean overlapping space. It's the same thing. It just means movement into the area, movement into the zone, right? Yeah, but everyone just thinks overlapping is running past the player on the wing. No. So look, as it goes back out, bump, that's the trigger. Into the space he goes. Perfect. No one's paying attention except for this guy. He has a bad day. Watch what he does. I kind of like the fact that he reacts. He sees it. He's reading it. He's not. And that's what I'm talking about, the lackadaisical effort of Inter Milan. It just isn't. They just haven't put any effort in. So as the ball breaks, off he goes. Bump, down, turns. Love that turn, by the way. Absolutely love that turn. It's one of my favourite little turns in the game. He's claiming for offside. Can't. Look at him. But at least he realises the danger. He's trying to play offside. He's not on the same book. He's not in this. People say the same page. He's not even in the same book. He doesn't know what's going on defensively. Still got players walking, but then this is a simple five-a-side tap-in goal, bump in the back of the net box. Absolutely torn apart by movement inside of the box. Players not doing what they're supposed to be doing, facing the wrong way, tracking runners. It's simple. It's really just simple stuff. But it's football. It's always the simple stuff. It's never the complicated, dynamic third man overlapping run drill that breaks them through. It's always the simple stuff. You're not marking your player. You're facing the wrong way. One person didn't play the offside trap properly, and you lose the Champions League final. Let's move on to the next goal. We're going to cover this at the end of the clip, though. The controversial did it not go out? Did it go out thing? We'll get to that in a second. But this is where the play starts. And if you're getting counter-attacked on as a defensive side, so what do I mean defensive side? Inter Milan are defensive. They sit in generally. They don't like to push extra bodies forward, so they don't get caught on silly things like this. Then you're going to have a bad day. Or maybe you've just set up wrong for the final. So what actually helps make this goal here? This is an absolute fantastic worldie of a pass. And things like this just go unmissed by commentators and in general, the football clowns that you listen on the mainstream media. The reason why this is so important, let's just watch it as it comes through. Right, watch. Do you see what he's doing? Right, it's taken. There is no way that ball hasn't been overhit. So what does that mean? He hasn't received the ball here where the defender could come and close him. It's slowed down, so he's slowed down, so he's received it in this pocket of space here. Absolutely perfect. The ball hasn't gone a little bit too far, so he's receiving it here inside the a zone where the defender can actually get to the ball. It's slowed down perfectly, so now he can just receive it and then go. But also have a look here. You can see right here is a player coming. We've got two players here. They're completely out of the play. We've got two players here. So we've really just got a 2v2. Can they hold the ball up and slow it down for their teammates? That's what you're really looking at doing. As we move it forward, look, bump, slowing it down a little bit, screaming for we've jumped forward a couple of frames, but you can see 1, 2 players breaknecking it in, trying to support. He right there doesn't need to be involved in the ball because he can't get to it. What he needs to try to do is get to about there. There's not much more he can do. Okay. Why about there? Because if he can get to about there, he can support him if he receives the ball. And if the ball goes backwards here, he can go over here. And he can't get to this player. Even if he gets to there, he will not get over to there by the time he is down to there. Won't happen. Somebody else should have been tracking on that side. They haven't. Bump. See what I mean? He should have been there, and he's not. And the other reason why, if he drops and helps there, because there's a massive gap in the central area here. He's not going to do anything there at all. But what he can do is he can help try to maybe cut out the pass to maybe 3 players. And he doesn't. He's trying to back up his teammate and he can't back him up. He's too far away. Do you see? Now, if he was where I wanted him, as this ball is played, maybe he can come across, and he's still not going to get there. Maybe he can get across and help, but he's not going to. Bump, bump, bump. You can see he's almost got there, and he was miles away from the play. Now, this is just unlucky. Take your shots. You can't win the lottery without winning, buying a lottery ticket, and that's why this guy, he's just gone and hit the ball as hard as he can at the target, and he's got himself a Champions League goal. Yeah, transition. It's important. You run back and you defend. Inter decided not to, and they got punished. Well, we've got them up here. Have a little look at the statistics. That matters. In a final, that matters. Okay, so Inter are also pressing high up the field, which isn't necessarily their game. You can't try to do something against your characteristics as well. There's like one of the things I hate saying that he was good at was Ferguson, and what he would do, he would take someone like Valencia who wasn't a right back, and he'd play him at right back. His characteristics would allow him to play right back in that game only, not as a right back. And then people thought, oh, we can put Antonio Valencia as a right back. No. Just his characteristics in that game meant that he would work today, because the other team is doing something and he's not going to get punished for the things that he's not good at defending, because the other guy is just trying to run past him. Antonio Valencia's got loads of pace. He's not going to run past him, and that's all he needs to worry about. They're not trying to pass the ball past him or break down the system. They're just trying to get the ball and run. And Antonio Valencia can do that, so it's no problem, and he can defend really well. So when you're trying to change your characteristics of what you're doing, high pressing up the field as a team here, you're going to get caught out. And I want to point out how good this is. Watch, as we go here, boom, he just keeps running. And no one from Inter runs with him. Because one of the things in modern football is they're talking about, the systems that they play and all that sort of nonsense. Systems don't win games, never have done. Players win games. Players do. And then you can put a player into a system that he doesn't work in, but you've got to make your players win games. Players do that, not your system. So they're doing something really, really weird here. And as soon as he's 2 players come to him, acres of space. And after he passes it, what does he do? He keeps running. He keeps running. Now, someone's gone to the ball. What does that mean? He's pulled out of position. 1, 2, 3. Well, he's gone. He has to go to the ball because there's his pocket of space. Or does he? It's the halfway line. He can get one of these 5 to come back and do that, and he can actually hold his shape, but he doesn't. He steps forward. Now they're done. As soon as he steps forward, they're absolutely done, because you've got a player on the run, and look at their body language here. No one is interested in tracking him. No one is going, that's going to be a problem. If he gets the ball back, he's off. They don't care. Look, off he goes, bump. Now he's panicking. I should have gone. But who's out of the play? The centre-back, out of the 3 centre-backs, one's over here. Centre midfield is now completely toast because wasn't really paying attention. Look at the body language of the rest of them. No one's really trying. And you're in a situation where Paris Saint-Germain are in a 2-3 straight away, and off they're going, attacking. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Now, I also do like this, actually. Watch this. He drives at the defender to make the defender make a decision. So as he runs towards the defender's got to come to him, and he's got to ignore that player, right? Immediately, if he does come to him, because now instead of making it a 2v3, they've made it a 2v1 in this situation, because he hasn't tried to drive through between them. He's driven at the defender. Very important, that. Very, very important. Watch. Now he tries to go to the other side of the defender. Watch, the defender has to do, I call it like flick-flacking or tank slapping, when a tank starts get wobbling and the defender doesn't know which way to go. He's like, he has to turn his body shape. As he does, watch what happens. Turns his body shape. It's too late now, because the momentum of his run is slowed by the actual pivoting of his body shape. So when he plays this ball off here, does a really nice little pass, lays it off into the space, dosh. Now, it's just a case, can he finish? Can he finish? Can he hit the target? That little movement of running at the defender And making the defender do that turn is the half a yard that the defender has lost on the striker running in here. That's it. That's really quality play. But let me guess, they won't even talk about that on the telly box. They wouldn't even understood that the fact that he didn't try to go between the two defenders and he ran at the defender just to make him move, wouldn't have even understood it. Wouldn't have understood it. Smacks it into the net box. Keeper should not have been beaten that easy on his inside post, on his near post there. But there we go. Let's move it on. Stood there for like a couple of normally I don't really look at stuff, I just record, but I've just been sitting here looking at this for a second and going, right, you've got 3 here, 2 here, players running in. This should never be a goal. Like, it doesn't matter how good this ball is, everyone's aware of what's happening. How are you letting this be a goal? Like, watch, as this ball goes, you can see he's calling for it and he's playing. Again, I have to give credence to the quality of the pass because it takes both defenders out the way, because it puts it in a situation where no one can actually get close to it. None of these two defenders can get close to it. But they both can get close to the player about 10 seconds ago. So how are they letting him ghost into this space between both of them and no one actually tracked the player? It baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. Again, the keeper gets beaten on the inside in the near post. Shouldn't have happened. But that's just awful to concede. I'm sorry. I just think Inter just gave up, really. Well, 72 minutes in, you're 2-0 down, 3-0 down, sorry. Maybe they just had enough. Maybe they're just mentally checked out and just were thinking about being on the beach. But yeah, that's just awful defending. Yeah, it's the 85th minute and you're all like losing 4-0 in the Champions League final. I'd probably be getting sent off right now by, going through a player. Or fake it. One of my favourite things is I'm injured, coach, take me off. Look at this. You can see what's going to happen before I even move forward. Right, okay, so this is the side that the goal is going to be scored on, okay? Unless all of these players get moved over to this side, and then this will be the side, because there's a massive gap. Unbelievable, massive gap. One thing I do like with Paris Saint-Germain, one of the things they do quite often, is when they're in a situation, they don't force trying to beat the player here. They knock it back into the space, and they just start again. And the space isn't like 15, 20 yards back. It's about 5 yards back, right? So it goes back into the middle and he just holds it, waiting to see what happens. And it completely sort of, the defence then don't know what to do because they've never got set in a situation. Their team shape, this team shape was just awful in my opinion. They just weren't in a situation where they could win that ball back, which is in the middle of the field. And it's really, really easy to have someone in the middle of the field. And they just don't. Then it's a case of, can you make a run? Look how many runners, look how many people they've got around that you can just move the ball to. He pings the ball into feet really, really solidly, but then he does the same thing as what all of the other Paris Saint-Germain players do, which I'm a massive advocate. After you've passed the ball, you keep running. So I have this phrase that I use, it's in my coaching books, it's like a philosophy: move, pass, overlap. What does overlap mean? You overlap the space, the player. So after you've passed the ball, you overlap the space or the player. You basically, it's a coaching word for saying you keep running. Movement, run. Dynamic movement, run. There's not enough movement up front. There's not enough running up front. Overlap, run. What does it mean? Run. After you pass the ball, you keep running. As he runs. There's a little dink. There is no way the goalkeeper should be getting beaten from here, and better not be on his near post again, because that'll be 3. Wait, guess what happens? Bosh, near post. Shouldn't have scored that, but he does. 5-0. PSG win the Champions League final. Honestly, it's I called it back, when they played Liverpool, but it's also good to see. I love a team like Paris Saint-Germain that don't have superstars, that are building a team. Maybe you can call Hakimi a superstar, but he's not. He's not like a, people aren't going, oh, he's the best in the world week in, week out. Maybe it's because he plays in the Farmers League over in France. But genuinely, they haven't bought Hakimi in for 150 million and this player in for 150 million and then tried to win it at Real Madrid. They've just built a team slowly over time and done great. Done perfectly getting rid of Neymar and Messi and all those Muppets. And now they finally have a football team. Yeah, well done, PSG. We'll see if you can do it again next year, because it'll be good if you can keep hold of your players. I think you will, because you can pay the money. But yeah, other than that, we'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.